Basically what we're doing is launching a barge into a tailings pond.
Right now we have to move about 600 feet to get it in the water. And once it continues in the water, we got to travel another 150 feet once it reaches the water's edge for the barge to be floating.
The barge is basically a floating facility with pumps on it with the whole purpose to pump out MFT fluid and deliver it to the plant on shore.
The barge is sitting on 24 airbags that will overcome the height requirements that we need to get off the blocks. We have some bags in the center of the barge that are holding it from rolling, going in the opposite direction of the other bags. We'll deflate those, pull those bags out, and then we'll begin a leapfrog fashion, taking the bag that rolls out the back, bringing it back to the front, re-inflating as we travel along. We're moving the barge right now about 5 feet per minute on average, sometimes faster, sometimes slower. We have a hauling winch hooked up. We have about 75 tons pulling the barge down the hill on the bags. We're holding it back with about 70 tons to keep it from rolling down the hill. The Egyptians did it a few thousand years ago, and we just improved the concept basically.
Using airbags came out as the safest, most cost-efficient, and the least complex option to execute at site. We formed a team to conduct so-called risk assessment, invited Centerlift in the room, and basically looked at our barge, at our site conditions.
Right now we have 21 people on site to assist with the lift. We're going to have a small night shift of 3 or 4 guys, just mainly maintaining the system through the night.
We have a group of sailors who aren't used to construction sites. We have a group of construction people who aren't used to sailors. And we have a lot of people doing the heavy lift on the barge who, although they're familiar with water in Louisiana, aren't quite familiar with what we do up here in Alberta. So I think the real positive for me has been being sent up here to work with these people and get them all assembled so that each one of them knows they can trust each other and that anybody here can stop the work if it becomes a problem.
You gotta let us know if you see something that we need to fix up. We'll get her fixed up.
Right now we record everything that's going on 24/7. The cameras are recording. This is recording all of our bag pressures, and we have our weather station records the weather data on the other screen.
The wind plays a big factor. We have to have the right day, the right wind, and we're lucky enough to have that. The stars aligned for us here today, and we're going to be going into the water.
We're going to connect 3 of Foss's tugboats to the bow. They will be pulling the barge as it enters the water. They'll be connected to the barge through our pins we have in the bow right now, and they're going to help continue on with controlling the barge as it enters the water and gains buoyancy.
It's a very slow, controlled process, so we'll ease it down into the water, and then we've got the marine spread out there that'll take over, and it'll tow it out into position and moor it into position to our desired pretensions on each of the anchors. And then we've got 8 submersible pumps that go down into the pond, and that's what pumps the material from the pond that goes back through the main plant that gets processed and then pipelined.
Careful planning, attention to detail, teamwork, and having the right people in your team is what makes the project a success.
I think it's so important the buy-in that we get day to day from our management staff and people willing to give time and effort and supplies to keep it the way it should be.
It's going to be a great project for the facility in the end, and we'll be able to turn this facility over to operations, and over the next 30 years they're going to be continuing to reclaim the land here, which is great.